Welcome back to the Grim and Glamorous podcast, and we are your hosts, LBG and Drea.
Hey, everybody.
So we're gonna do the Mandela Effect,
Yeah.
something a little bit creepy, and I feel like it's something that's been covered by several other people. I know Jenna and Julian have done something about this topic. Shane Dawson has as well. Even Tana Mojo has done something.
She has?
She actually did a pretty good job explaining
Hmm.
what it was, and then sort of some that she found. I think it's pretty interesting. It has to do with like memories, collective memories, alternate timelines, parallel universes. All of those are involved in this thing. So I think let's just uh, let's just dive right in. And you were the one that kind of found this topic, so I kind of wanted to have you just explain like what it was because it took me a while to kind of gather what it actually is.
Okay, so I guess the Mandela effect is you have a memory of something that is not true. So, for example, it's kind of weird how people have remembered that there was a movie called Shazam or something like that, and that it starred Sinbad. I don't know if you know who Sinbad is, but for those who don't know, Sinbad was a comedian, or actually, he's still a comedian because he's still alive. He's a comedian, but he doesn't really do too much anymore. Maybe he does a little bit of stand up still. People think that there was a movie called Shazam starring Sinbad, this comedian, and that he was a genie. Now, I think people are getting that confused with the movie Kazam. I think that's the movie. I think that's what it's called. And that actually starred Shaquille O'Neal, or Shaq. And he was a genie. And that was the actual movie that took place. So people, like, in their head swear that there was this movie with Sinbad. And there was no such thing. And that's kind of like the idea about it, is that like people remember things from the past or have like a memory of something that's just not true. And I think that the Mandela effect comes from the fact that people think that Mandela died in prison, but he really didn't. He didn't die in prison.
He died a few years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and then there was this movie that came out recently about his life and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so basically it's the idea that the reality of what something is, whether it was a movie, whether it was an event, basically you remember it wrong.
Yeah.
But a lot of people.
But yeah, it's not
just one person.
It's not just you. It's
like many people.
Many other people who have this same memory of something that isn't true. All these memories are the same. But people swear that they've seen this movie or they've owned it on VHS. Like, I swear I have it in the attic. I know I have it in one of those little box cases that Disney movies came in. Like, it's weird to me.
I'm glad you brought this one up first because having read through a lot of these different scenarios of the Mandela effect,
yeah,
this was one where I actually bought into this one.
No, you didn't. Stop.
And the reason I think this one is funny is because I remember the movie with Shaq, but I also remember Sinbad being in a movie around this time. Like, I totally thought it was Sinbad. I know Shaq was in a bad movie around this time also, but I totally remember Sinbad being in something around that time.
Okay, do you remember like what movie it could have been?
I don't know.
let me tell you, 96, 97, he was in Jingle All the Way.
Sinbad?
Yes, so we're talking about Sinbad right now. Yeah. So in like 96, he was in Jingle All the Way. Also in 96, he was in First Kid. Did you ever see First Kid?
No.
I didn't see First Kid, but it was obviously about, he was the bodyguard for the president's son. It was a Disney movie, I think. So he was in that, and I think he was also in like A Good Burger or something. So those three movies, at least around that time where Shazam came out, those would be those movies that you're talking about.
Yeah.
So like none of those stories are even similar to what Shazam is about.
Hold on, let me look up something because I get your argument on that, but there was something that I read that made me think this kind of explains it. Yeah, so so this is like a popular one, but there are a few others that are like more sort of emblematic of just this whole phenomenon. Like I think the most famous one is Nelson Mandela, that people that's what it's named after, that he died in prison when really he didn't. People swear that they saw this or that they witnessed this.
Well, I mean, a lot of people do a lot of that, or they think that somebody had died, but they're actually still alive and they're fine. I think that happens a lot, though, doesn't it? Like
with celebrities, yeah, like you get confused. Oh, okay. So Snopes, I love Snopes because they've been around forever.
Oh,
and they do like urban legends. They've become like a fact finder website. I remember in like the early days of the internet, like they were like Urban Legend Central. Yeah, like Loch Ness Monster, 9/11, all these like crazy conspiracies, and then they would say, okay, this is true, this is false, and those were like green and red, and then yellow was like
maybe
ambiguous maybe. Yeah. So somebody tweeted something that Snopes picked up and that says is a possible explanation. It says Sinbad once hosted a showing of the movie, or it's something called Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger in 1994. Part of this Sinbad the Sailor movies, where he wears like a sailor, like a puffy shirt outfit, and he kind of looks like a genie. The outfit makes him look a little bit like a genie. So this is sort of
what is this called?
It's called. It's part of this series, Sinbad the Sailor. There's something called Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger on TNT in 1994. And so there's a photo of Sinbad wearing like this outfit with puffy sleeves and like a weird hat, and it kind of looks like a genie.
Okay.
So people are like, "Oh, this is what they're confusing it, because it's in the 90s. The Shaq movie came out, so this is like that image was floating out there around that time. So yeah.
Okay.
It was in the 90s, there's an image there. People are watching these weird, crappy movies. I doubt that was a good movie. Neither was Shaq's movie.
I mean,
like, name one good movie Shaq has been in. So, I think it's just like, you think bad movie, you think, and their names are kind of similar. That's with a lot of these, at least the movie version. People misremember actors, and they misremember, it was, one of them I saw was like, Leonardo DiCaprio. I remember him winning an Oscar way before 2016. And people are like, no, that was the first time Leo won an Oscar. They're thinking of another actor.
Yeah. Because, like, if you were to mention it, you're like, okay, well, what movie? They wouldn't know. They'd just be like, I don't know. They'd probably say Titanic.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, yeah, he's never won an Oscar until, what, a year ago? 2 years ago? A couple years ago?
Mm-hmm.
I think at least 2. And, yeah, you're right. Name a movie. Name the best movie that Shaq's been in. I don't know.
Oh my god.
I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen a movie with Shaq in it.
What are some of the other scenarios, or what are some of the other Mandela effects that you found that you thought were interesting?
Another one is it the Berenstein Bears? I don't know if you remember
this from, this was the other, like, this is one of the top ones. Like, this is, like, right up there.
And, like, it's, people confuse it with Berenstein, Stein,
mm-hmm.
and also Stain, Stain.
Right. So people remember it as Steen. Berenstein.
But I think, like, if I were to say it out loud, either way, it would be Berenstein.
Berenstein.
Yeah. Because that's just what I thought that their last name was.
Our doctor was Dr. Gladstein.
Yeah, maybe his name was Dr. Gladstein.
No, Gladstein. Like, his name was Steen. Gladstein.
Yeah.
Stein.
Yeah.
Steen. That's how you pronounced it. It was spelled Stein. But you pronounced it Steen.
Yeah.
Like Gladstein.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably why I remember it like that. But I do remember the spelling being weird. Like you remember the spelling was weird, but a lot of people swear it was not spelled with an A. But it is spelled with an A.
Right.
So it's Stain.
Yeah.
Like, whose last name is Stain? Like, nobody. So I think that's why. I think that's why this one trips people up, because it's like when has it ever been that? It really.
Right.
We were just pronouncing it wrong. See, this is the other part of the Mandela Effect, which I think is really an important thing to consider, is that all of these things that we're talking about, like, they're from a while ago, like childhood, the 90s, the 80s, even early, like, 2000s. Like, anything more than once you get to 5 or 10 years ago, people's memories are not that great.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, if you talk to, like, psychologists and people that are experts on, like, neuroscience and the brain, memory quickly deteriorates even, like, 5 minutes after an event. So they call this, like, the bystander or, like, witness effect. So if there's a crime that's happened or an event and they question witnesses, you ask 5 different people that witnessed the same event, they're all going to have 5 different stories because, given the time, the place, the circumstance, where they were standing, their own background, how they interpret things. So, like, memory can be really tricky. So if you times that by, like, thousands of people, like millions of people, they're going to remember things totally differently. So that doesn't surprise me that, like, something like this, like, I mean, I'm not surprised when something is that long ago. I think stuff like that ends up in this list of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Berenstein one has gotten the most attention outside of, like, Nelson Mandela, like, the namesake for this phenomenon.
Yeah.
But there's a few others that are kind of interesting. There was one that I was reading about, like, brands, that I thought was kind of funny. Like, people misremember, like, certain colors or the names, like Oscar Mayer.
That one bothers me.
Yeah.
And the only reason why it bothers me is because there's a full song dedicated to the Oscar Mayer, like, brand. My bologna has a first name. It's Oscar. Like, they spell it out for you.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you not remember it? If you remember the song, you remember how to spell it.
What was it?
Mayer.
And so that's how the song goes, right?
Yeah.
Mayer.
Uh-huh.
But that's not how you pronounce the brand. You don't say Oscar Mayer, right?
Oh, that's true.
I think that's what people.
That's okay.
That's why.
That makes sense now.
And that's the whole thing with like, I think a lot of these that people. So we're bringing you like a different take than a lot of people have talked about this, but I don't think people have talked about why it's misremembered. And I think a big crucial key is like the same thing with the Berenstein Bears, is we say these brands or these names differently than how they're spelled. But people, you don't, if you say Mayer, like John Mayer, but that's how you spell John Mayer, Mayer. But you don't say Oscar Mayer, you say Oscar Mayer. But you spell Meyer, Meyer.
Okay.
So I think that's like, and it falls on the brands and it falls on people too, but we're basically saying it wrong. And the brands are spelling it differently than how you're supposed to say it. So it's like, Oscar Mayer calls himself Oscar Mayer.
Right.
But it's spelled Mayer. So it's just people saying things weird, basically. Yeah. It's like Berenstein. Berenstein doesn't sound that great. Berenstein. Or like, you say it quickly, Berenstein. So I think we solved the Mandela Effect.
I think we did.
It's just people saying it weird.
Yeah, people just don't remember and they're just going to say it.
Yeah. The other thing, though, too, besides just the names, is like the colors. Like one that I was reading was like people remember Pepsi being flipped, like the red, white, and blue, or blue, white, and red. I don't know how it actually looks. Chick-fil-A.
Okay.
The spelling of Chick-fil-A was weird.
What's up with the Chick-fil-A? Is it
people remember it as CHIC?
Okay.
And apparently it's actually Chick-fil-A, CHICK.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's okay. See, that one's gonna bother me.
There's yeah.
It is a K. There is a K there.
Yeah. Did you not think there was a K?
No,
I didn't think there was.
I swear that every time I eat there, on the bag, it's just a C.
Yeah. So you're living the experience of millions of people that I didn't remember a K there, but apparently
because on the website it's CHICK.
How do you spell fillet on there? On right now.
Phil A. So FIL A. Yeah.
Is that, and that's how it is on there? Okay. Yeah. So Chick-fil-A was one other one. Oh, Wendy's. That the girl had pigtails.
She does have pigtails, doesn't she?
There's something with Wendy's, her hair. Oh, that her pigtails were braided.
They're not braided? No, they're not braided. They just stick out to the sides, I think. I mean, I should know I eat there enough. I love Wendy's, by the way. Not sponsored. I love Wendy's.
They should sponsor us.
But Wendy's, just hook it up with those spicy nuggets when they come out. Thanks. No, they're not braided. They have little bows.
Okay, like but people remember the Wendy's girl with braids.
But if you think about it,
pigtails. People
like the brands, they evolve. So maybe at one point they did have braids.
That's possible.
That's
like the Starbucks logo, right?
Yeah, the Starbucks logo went to be like I think a full siren, and now it's just a siren face that's green in a circle.
Yeah.
They bring it back maybe once a year for the anniversary in the fall, but Yeah, it used to be like brown, and it also used to be like um, it was more of a mermaid than it was like the siren that it is today.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, logos evolve, so maybe at one point she did have braids.
Yeah, I think I remembered it with braids, but apparently that's not real. So,
Huh.
I'm trying to think of a few others that came up that were really popular. One that I found was Jif or Jiffy peanut butter. So, I remember calling it Jiffy, like, oh, Jiffy peanut butter, but apparently it's just
it's
Jif.
Jif. But I mean, you could
J-I-F.
also, okay, do you remember being a little kid and eating Jiffy popcorn?
Jiffy,
or Jiffy
Jiffy Pop, yeah.
So maybe that's like kind of like where that comes from as well.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if you can get like.
Is there like a quiz?
There is like a quiz.
Okay, let's roll through that quickly.
So how do you remember the logo for Looney Tunes?
Okay, I remember reading something about this, so I think I know the correct answer. It's people remember it as Looney Tunes, like cartoons, Toons.
Yeah.
But apparently it's Looney Tunes, like music, Tunes.
Yeah, that's
Looney
right.
Tunes. Okay,
that's right.
That was one that I had read that threw people for a loop because, and this is one that Tana Mojo talks about in hers. She's like, that doesn't make any sense. They're cartoons. Like, they're not.
Okay, but I think Warner Brothers made Looney Tunes like if something had to do with the music. So it's Looney Tunes, like songs, like music.
Yeah.
So I think there's like a connection on why they, instead of making it cartoons, it was Looney Tunes. I don't know 100% exactly what that was, but I think that that's why they spelled tunes as music.
I think it's
like
Toontown, right?
Toontown at Disneyland
is like Toon.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. So maybe Disney had a thing on like tune. Like a copyright. Disney has copyrights on everything, so maybe they have a copyright on like the word tune. Not cartoon.
I mean,
but like tune.
If Toontown was a thing back then.
I think it was. Yeah, with Roger Rabbit.
Remember? That's true. Yeah. But also in Roger Rabbit, they had both Disney and Warner Brothers cartoons mixed in with each other.
What? No way. Really?
You don't remember that?
Was it like Donald Duck and like?
Like there was some like Warner Brothers characters walking around in the movie with like Dumbo and like Roger Rabbit and like both ducks. Donald Duck.
I don't remember this at all. This could be all another. We have to investigate this one today.
We're just gonna go and rewatch Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Wait, Porky Pig was in it. Porky Pig was in it.
And he's Warner Brothers.
And
but
he was
Roger Rabbit's.
Roger Rabbit was. I think Roger Rabbit technically is a Disney film, but.
Well, the other thing too, I think, is that when these movies came out, because I don't think Disney owned everything at that time, because Disney later on bought stuff as it went along.
Yeah.
Like Disney didn't always own Star Wars and Marvel.
Right.
Like they do today.
Right.
So, like, if you think about it, if you watched a Star Wars movie in like 2000, that's not technically a Disney movie, but it is now.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't when you watched it. So, I mean, that could be another factor at play in this. Mm-hmm. Like, time and when things happened and with these brands and stuff. Like the whole thing with the Starbucks and the Pepsi, like logos change. So depending on the time that you're talking about, you could be right or you could be wrong, which is crazy.
Okay, I have another one for you.
Okay, yeah.
So Do you remember what the Fruit of the Loom logo looked like?
Fruit of the Loom.
You know Fruit of the Loom? Like,
yeah, I'm trying to picture it. It's you know, the logo. It says Fruit of the Loom, and then there's like fruit above it, like apples, grapes.
Was there anything else with that?
A pear.
But like, besides the fact that there's fruit.
No, that's all I remember.
That's
a basket, maybe.
That's correct. Well, I think what you're thinking of is a cornucopia.
Okay, yeah,
but there is no cornucopia, so no, you.
But is there a basket?
There is no basket.
It's just fruit.
It's just fruit, and actually, it's just grapes. It's just grapes and an apple, but 3 different kinds of grapes.
Green, and purple, and an apple, right?
And yellow. There's like a little bit of yellow grapes.
Yellow grapes.
Like underneath it, and there's some grape leaves on the side.
Okay. See, at first I was gonna say it's just the fruit because I couldn't clearly remember anything else. Like I remember the colors, but I don't remember like. That's why I was like hesitant to say like a basket or a thing. But so there's no basket. There's no fruit besides grapes and an apple.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. And what about this? Do you remember watching the Saw movies?
No,
You've never seen the Saw movies?
I think I saw one of them. I hate the Saw movies. So I think I saw half of one, and I
think I stopped at the first one because I think there's like.
Oh, you know what? I saw Saw 3. I remember going with some friends, and we saw Saw 3. But I don't remember watching any of them because
do you know anything about the Saw movies?
There's a little jigsaw man or whatever.
Do you remember what he says? What his
something
little...
about a game. Want to play a game or something like that?
Do you know exactly what he says?
I think that's it. Want to play a game? Is that what he says?
He says, "I want to play a game," because I think a lot of people get the question wrong. Do you want to play a game? But he actually says, "I want to play a game."
Okay. Yeah, that was kind of
didn't
weird.
remember that either. Like, I've seen Saw maybe a couple times, and I thought it was, "Do you want to play a game?" Because every time somebody like jokes around, like their jigsaw from the thing, they'll be like, "Do you want to play a game?"
Mm-hmm.
And you're like,
"Yeah, people say that."
Yeah, people say that. So
that I don't know if this is on the quiz also, but one that I was reading was about Star Wars, talking about Star Wars earlier, about Darth Vader, what he says to Luke. Apparently, that's like a big one. Is that on the quiz?
That one is not on the quiz.
Okay.
That's not on the quiz, but I know what you're...
So the line is that people remember the line, like an iconic line. It says...
people remember it as, "Luke, I am your father."
Yeah, "Luke, I am your father." But what he really says is... says, "No, I am your father," right? Or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, that one was weird.
That is weird because, like, everybody says that. Oh, here's one. Okay, so you know that famous picture of Uncle Sam, right?
Yeah.
Uncle Sam, and he's pointing at you.
Yeah.
What does his hat look like? What are the colors of his hat? Uncle Sam and his little, like, tuxedo jacket. He's pointing at you.
Okay, his hat is... There's red and white stripes somewhere. I'm not sure where exactly. Part of it's blue. I think the hat is striped, and there's like a blue ribbon around it.
You're absolutely wrong.
No? No. The hat is blue, and there's like a ribbon around it.
Actually, if you want to see the picture, it's white. It's a white hat with blue on the bottom with stars.
No.
Right? I I looked at this and I was like, this has to be wrong. But
That's
apparently, the correct answer is blue and white. That his hat is blue and white.
Yeah, that one's crazy. I think what people when they do Uncle Sam, like little dolls or like things now, they incorporate like the red and white stripes.
They incorporate red, white, and blue with everything.
So I think what we're seeing is like the original was totally different, but as like time goes on, people reimagine it, they change it.
Yeah. I mean, we went to Party City, and there was the Uncle Sam, like, I think it was a wreath. He was, like, sitting, like, Uncle Sam was, like, sitting in a little, like, wreath for 4th of July, and he had a hat, and it was red, white, and blue. So, of course, like, you're gonna think everything that Uncle Sam has in his outfit is red, white, and blue.
So his hat is white.
His hat is white. Isn't that weird? That's crazy.
I have a few more. So you asked me a few.
Okay.
And then we'll wrap it up because this could go really. There's so many of them. Like we could really go on about this, but we just wanted to touch on a few that were really popular. Like we mentioned the Star Wars one, Luke, I am your father. That's how people remember it, but really he says, no, I am your father. So that was like another major one. Okay, so I found a few here. Let's see if you can spot these out. The Monopoly Man. Does he have a monocle or not?
I want to say he doesn't, because I think people get him mixed up with I don't know
the Planters Peanuts guy.
Yes, the Planters Peanuts guy.
Because he has a monocle.
He does.
And a top hat.
So you're like,
he's fancy.
Yeah, he's got little like things on his shoes, those little like fancy dress shoes, and you're like, all right, they're probably from the same, they're both money, so I would assume that they're friends and that both of them would have a monocle. But I think Mr. Pennybags, Moneybags, Money Penny, like, I don't think he has a monocle.
Yeah, he doesn't. But a lot of people believe that he did at one point, or that he still does. There's another one here. I think you got this one already, but Queen, their song "We Are the Champions." People believe the lyrics are one thing and they're really another. So the end of the song, it says "We are the champions." How does it end? Does it just end there, or does it end "We are the champions of the world"?
Okay, this is a hard one. I know the answer is "We are the champions," but I know for a fact that I've heard the song end with "We are the champions." You wait a little bit, and then he says "of the world." I know I've heard it, and I believe it's out there. I know because I've heard it.
Okay.
And I might be wrong, but I know I've heard it.
My theory for this one is I agree with you 100% on this. What radio stations do sometimes, when a song is really long, they'll cut it short, or like there's like a radio edit.
Yeah.
That happens with a lot of music, a radio edit version. I think what happened was, and I'm going to check how long the original song is. My suspicion is that it was too long, so the radio just played like, oh, we're just going to play a 2-minute version, 3-minute version of the song, and we'll cut it off. Because they do, the lyric "of the world" is in the song, right? Like at some point.
Because they don't just play that song, right? "We Are the Champions." They always play it together with "We Will Rock You," right? Isn't that like how you've heard this on the radio before? Like they'll play "We Will Rock You" and then they will like slowly like We Are the Champions will come in afterwards. So it's both songs together.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm looking at the lyrics online. This is from Lyric Find.
Mm-hmm.
After the first chorus, we are the champions, my friends. We'll keep on fighting till the end. We are the champions. We are the champions. No time for losers, because we are the champions of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Second chorus, same thing. We are the champions, my friends. We'll keep on fighting till the end. We are the champions. We are the champions. No time for losers, because we are the champions of the world. Last chorus, the exact same thing, but it says, because we are the champions, and then there's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So this is one where, yeah, I think there's multiple explanations. I think the radio edit, you're saying a different version of the song, they cut it off. Or maybe they use the first chorus and then that's it. They don't play the second last chorus. Or they play the second to the last chorus and then they just end it there.
Cut. Yeah.
So we're hearing that version that says of the world and that's the end of it. Or people could just be misremembering it. Like, by not having it, because you've said it twice before, you just automatically finish the song.
Yeah.
So your mind just fills it in. But that's. I feel like this is a very nuanced, technical Mandela effect. Like, people are like, no, the very end of the song, they have it there. It's like, okay, they had it in there. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. Like, this is one where I think people are being a little bit too picky about it, whether it was true or not. Like, yeah.
Okay, well, how about this? Do you know when you're at a traffic light, what is the order of the traffic lights?
I think it goes red, yellow, green.
It is red, yellow, green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But people think it's green, yellow,
red. And red. That, I don't really pay attention to, but, I mean...
I'm trying to picture it, and I'm like,
yeah, but and that's how it is. It's red, yellow, green.
All right. I'll do two more, and then and we'll wrap it up. Or if you have another one, Pikachu.
Mm-hmm.
Pikachu used to be your favorite Pokemon, right? You used to be.
Who didn't love Pikachu?
Everybody loved Pikachu. So people remember Pikachu differently than what he actually is, how he looks. So people believe that, did Pikachu have black on his ears and black on the tip of his tail?
Pikachu only had, Pikachu had, he was all yellow. He has two pointy ears.
Mm-hmm.
And they have black on the tips.
Of his ears.
He's got a brown marking on his tail, but it's not at the top of his tail. I think maybe it's towards the base of his tail. And then it's a little lightning bolt tail. And then it was just yellow.
Okay.
But I don't think there was anything else.
So, yeah, you're right. People remember, though, people believe that Pikachu had a black tip on his tail.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
And is it just because of his ears?
Probably.
Yeah. Okay, but does he have red cheeks?
Yeah.
Okay, because I was going to say, I remember Pikachu with red cheeks.
He's got red spots on his cheeks. He's got black tips on his ears. And just like what you were saying, a brown thing on his tail, but it's at the bottom.
Okay, but what about the imposter Pikachu? Do you know what I'm talking about? Isn't there a Pokemon that kind of looks like Pikachu, but he's a fake? he's a fake Pokemon, or he's a fake Pikachu. Mm-hmm. He might have black markings. I don't know what he's called, but I think he's the imposter. I think that's what he's called. Imposter Pikachu.
I don't
Not to be
remember
confused
that.
with Detective Pikachu.
But you could be right on
But,
that.
like,
I have
I
no
think.
idea. Well, that's a good point too, because weren't there like a lot of like there's not just one of each Pokemon. There were like
Yeah.
several, and some of them were kind of different, right? Like
Yeah.
some of the like if there's like there was an episode with like 100 Pikachu's, and some of them looked kind of different.
Yeah, some of them kind of looked
There was
off.
like a Raichu. Raichu was the evolved.
Right.
It goes Pikachu, and then Raichu was like the big chew. Like Pikachu never evolved,
Okay.
but eventually maybe that was it.
Okay,
Maybe the
let me see.
Raichu had the.
Maybe. Hold on.
Oh, and then there was like that mini Pikachu after like they released a different version. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Now I know what you're talking about. Raichu is that.
The big orange one.
Yeah, he's like a big. Is he? Yeah, he is significantly bigger than a Pikachu.
Welcome to PokeCast.
Wow,
The
I know, right?
Grim and Glamorous PokeCast.
Raichu has like a 3-color combination on his tail. So like it's like brown. It's like brown at the base, like a Pikachu, and then it's more of like a
orange.
Yeah, like the color of his body, and then like towards the end of that lightning bolt, it's kind of yellow.
Oh, it's yellow.
So
interesting.
But that could be just like an artist.
Oh, does he have like a point? Is there a point on this on the tail?
I mean, it's like a lightning bolt. It's like a lightning bolt, but it's like attached by a string. So you know how Pikachu is like a straight up lightning bolt? So this is a lightning bolt with like a string attached.
Oh, okay. I'm looking at it now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird. I barely remember it. Okay, I searched. Maybe we solved it. I searched for Raichu. And then it says Google suggestions.
Here it is.
People also search for Pichu.
See, that's the imposter Pikachu.
And Pichu has a black thing on his tail.
Pichu has like.
That's maybe what it was. Man, we're really like solving all of these.
I know, right?
We're
See,
like
it's like Pikachu, but like with a black tail and like a little like. I want to say it looks like a black bow tie, but it's not a bow tie. It's like a little like neckerchief, or like just like a black marking around his neck.
Mm.
And that's why I was like, oh, this is the fake one. But actually, he's actually like he's a real Pokemon.
Yeah, apparently, I think like after the first few games. They added Pokemon, and apparently Pichu evolved into, or could evolve into a Pikachu.
Okay.
And then Pikachu turns into a Raichu, the big orange one.
I see.
So he was added later on as like a prequel. But he definitely has black on the tail. So that's that could be it. Okay.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
We get this. All right.
My last one, we were talking about Disney and like all those stories. So this one kind of threw me off too. Snow White.
Mm-hmm.
Snow White, in the movie, there's the evil, what is it? I don't know if she's a witch or a queen. She looks in the mirror and she says something to the mirror. Okay, true or false? The line when the queen is looking into the mirror, she says, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?" Is that true or false? This is Disney. This is in a movie.
This is the animated. You're talking about the animated, the first ever Disney film that they put out, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to say that's false. Because everything that we've been talking about has been false.
Okay, but if it's false, what's said instead of that?
Is it Magic Mirror? Is it Magic Mirror on the wall?
Yeah. That's what it was. People misremember the line, and I think it's like going back to the Star Wars one. You watch something once, and then maybe you didn't really catch it correctly,
Uh-huh.
and so it gets repeated. I think it just snowballs. Like that's what like the Luke, I am your father. Like I think that line rings better than no, I'm your father. Like because it's like who's he talking to? He's talking to Luke, right?
Right.
This one, yeah, it's magic mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all? It's magic mirror, but people always say mirror, mirror on the wall.
That's. I mean, I can see why. I can see why.
Yeah, I think mirror, mirror rings better. Okay, so that was all that I had. I think we did, I thought we did pretty well. Like me guessing, I got a few right.
You did. You got a lot right.
You got a few right also. But people remember things differently, and I think that's just part of this conversation. When we were looking up explanations for like what's really going on here, like what is the Mandela effect, not just misremembered events or misremembered events or things from popular culture, brands, movies, television, who was in what. It's not just that we misremember the facts, but it's sort of like, no, I thought it was this way, I swear it was this way, and people believe that and remember that. And people will say like, oh, well, that's proof of evidence for, we're living in like an alternate timeline, or we're living in a alternate reality, or that the past changed, or somebody went back in time and changed things. Like, it's kind of like in Back to the Future when Marty McFly goes back and they're like, don't touch anything, don't change anything because that'll affect the future. So that's sort of, people think like that's what this concept is. Like somebody went back in time or time traveled and like totally messed things up, and now things changed, and we're living in this scenario where we remember it differently. And there's a few other explanations. But I think like if you look at it from a logical perspective, I think it's like, faulty memories, or we never remembered it right in the first place, like with the names or like the brands. Oh, I thought it was this way, but really it was this thing the whole time. And I think that's what like the Berenstein Bears, Oscar Mayer, like that's a huge part of it. But yeah, this was kind of a fun thing because I think a lot of people have talked about it, but I don't think a lot of people have really gone in depth to analyze or understand like what's really going on, like why people misremember things. I think it does have to do with like names and like branding, like the Fruit of the Loom. I remember the colors, but not the details. I think that's part of it also. Like we're not good with like details, but like in general, like general memories. But did you have any final thoughts about just like the whole thing in general, or like
with the whole like Shazam thing?
Yeah.
Like like so many people out there swear that they've seen this movie, and I'm like, they all came up with the same name, they came up with the same actor, they came up with the same plot line, and it's just not real. Like that's the thing that kind of trips me out. Like,
yeah,
I understand like the branding issues and like stuff like that, and like brands have like logos that evolve over time, and like hey, like the Wendy's girl might have had pigtails at one point, or whatever. Yeah, but like it trips me out that like some people out there, like there's people out there who have never met each other, have this idea of something that's not real.
This goes back to our very first episode. We did the Slender Man, and we talked about how things can spiral, like if it's not just one person, but it's like a group or like several people
Mm-hmm.
and it can kind of just like become its own thing. Like that's what our first episode was about. I think this is kind of a similar thing. Like it's not just one person, but like when you have multiple people remembering something false, like that just create. It's almost like it's another reality because multiple people like have the same perspective, and they're like, even though it didn't really happen, and you talk to somebody that also believes that, and it's sort of like, oh hey, like that's they're almost verifying your point of view and your false memory, and maybe they didn't even remember it right. They're just like, oh yeah, I think you're right. Like I think I do remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can, I think just it's just like the power of suggestion. Like, and that's the other part of this too. People are so adamant and so like convinced that they remembered it this way. And if you're not convinced and you're just like, oh, I don't know, like I really don't remember that, maybe you're right.
Mm-hmm.
You're almost like giving that ground to that person, and so then you believe it. I think that's what happens. Is just like it builds from there. Because when you're, like we were talking about, like memory is not 100%, and it's hard to remember things that happened 5 days ago, let alone 5 years ago,
right.
to 15 years ago. So when you encounter somebody that's like, no, it was this, I swear, and you're just like not sure, I think that can play a part too. And maybe that's why a lot of these have built so much steam and momentum behind it, is that you're people that are not so confident in their memories are being confronted by people that are like, they're wrong, but they're very convinced about it. So yeah, and that's creating these Mandela effects. But yeah, I think that wraps up our discussion today. Of course, there's a lot more out there. There's a lot that we didn't cover. If you, we would love to hear what some of your favorites are. But yeah, that's our episode for today, and appreciate you listening, and hopefully you remember things the right way. Thanks for listening.
All right, thank you.